Caitlin Clark is 5 days away from watching her entire season disappear. And so is everyone else in this league. The league just dropped a deadline on the players. March 10th. Sign a new deal by then. Or the season gets pushed back, maybe canceled entirely. And right in the middle of all this chaos, the league quietly slipped something into their latest offer, a special provision, one that puts Caitlin Clark on a path to $1.3 million by 2027. But here's what they didn't announce in the press release. They didn't budge a single dollar on revenue sharing for everybody else. And some of her teammates, they are not happy about it. Today, we're going inside what's really happening in these negotiations. Because this isn't just a labor dispute anymore. This is a league that generated more money than ever in its history, and then offered its stars a shortcut to the top, while keeping the middle class exactly where they are. We're talking about the $1.3 million offer, the March 10th ultimatum, the 3-page letter that Breanna Stewart just sent to her own union. Yes, the players are now fighting each other. Stay with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what the WNBA is doing here, and why some of the most respected veterans in the league are furious about it. Let's start with the offer itself. Last Sunday night, the WNBA sent the Players' Union a new proposal, and buried inside it was a rule that changes everything for a very specific group of players. Here's how it works. If you're a rookie and you made the All-WNBA first or second team, you become eligible for a maximum contract in your 4th year, 1 year earlier than the current rules allow. Under that language, Caitlin Clark becomes a max contract player in 2027. And what does max contract mean under this new deal? $1.3 million per year. To put that in perspective, she's currently making $85,873. Her second-year rookie-scale salary, $85,000 for the most watched player in women's sports history, the woman who single-handedly filled arenas that were half empty 2 years ago. So, on the surface, this looks like the league finally doing right by its biggest star. But here's where it gets complicated. The Players' Union has been fighting for one thing above everything else: revenue sharing. Not just bigger salaries for the superstars, a share of the actual money the league brings in every year for every player. Think about A'ja Wilson, 2-time MVP, 4-time champion, the most decorated player in this league's history. She made $241,984 last season. That's what the best player in women's basketball earns in a year. And the union is saying, if this league is generating real revenue now, players like her deserve a percentage of that growth, not just a fixed raise. They asked for 27.5% of gross revenue. That's the number that would change the lives of the women making $70,000 a year. The role players, the veterans in their second and third contracts, the ones who will never be Caitlin Clark. And in this new proposal, the one with the $1.3 million Clark Fast Track, the league didn't move on revenue sharing. Not 1%. So but what the league essentially offered was this: we'll make your star rich, just sign the deal. Now, to be fair, the league has raised average salaries significantly. The proposal would take the average from $120,000 to $540,000. That's real money. That matters. But here's what veterans understand that younger fans sometimes miss. Average salaries and revenue sharing are two completely different things. One is a fixed number the league controls. The other is a percentage of growth. If the league explodes in value over the next 6 years, revenue sharing is how players ride that rocket ship. Without it, the league keeps the upside. Players get a raise, not a partnership. And some of these women have been around long enough to know exactly what that means. Here's the story that got almost no coverage outside of the hardcore WNBA press. Right now, this week, Breanna Stewart and Kelsey Plum are competing in the unrivaled playoffs, the offseason league that was specifically built to keep WNBA players earning money and visible during the winter. And while they're playing playoff basketball, they wrote a letter, 3 pages, to their own union's executive director, Terry Carmichael Jackson. And they didn't mince words. They expressed, quote, serious concerns about how the negotiations were being handled. They said there had been a breakdown in communication between union leadership and the players themselves. Think about what that means for a second. These aren't rookies venting on social media. Stewart is a 2-time champion. Plum has been in this league for nearly a decade. These are women who understand what's at stake. And they're saying, from the inside, but that something has gone wrong. Now the union's executive committee responded publicly. They said they're united, they're focused, and they're not accepting a deal that doesn't deliver for every player. WNBA President Nneka Ogwumike, Seattle Storm forward, veteran of 3 teams, someone who has been in this fight for years, backed the negotiating team publicly. But the fact that letter exists, the fact that it got out, tells you everything about the pressure inside that locker room right now. Because some players want to hold out for the revenue share, and others are looking at $540,000 in average salary, which would be life-changing, and wondering how long they can afford to say no. Here's the thing that makes this so fascinating from a business standpoint. The WNBA just confirmed, for the first time in league history, that it generated enough revenue to trigger revenue sharing with players. $8 million will be distributed to players who were active from 2020 to 2025. $8 million, the whole league. Now, the NBA paid its players $4.4 billion in salary last year. Nobody's saying the WNBA is the NBA. But the point the players are making is this. The league just proved it can generate real money. And the moment it did, they want a seat at the table when that money grows. The league says it's offering 70% of net revenue to the players. The players say net revenue is calculated in a way that gives the league too much control over the math. They want gross revenue, money before expenses get subtracted. That difference sounds technical, but it's the whole ballgame. ESPN is paying dramatically more for WNBA media rights in 2026 than they ever have before. We're talking about a media rights deal reportedly worth around $2.2 billion over multiple years, involving ESPN, Disney, and Amazon. The league is adding 2 new franchises, Portland and Toronto, which means expansion fees. And Caitlin Clark's second season drove ratings that nobody in this league has ever seen. That's the context WNBA Commissioner Kathy Engelbert is operating in when she sets a March 10th deadline. She's not just trying to save a season, she's trying to protect the most lucrative broadcast deal in the league's history. Deals those networks are watching very carefully right now. The players know what's coming, and they want to make sure they're not signing a deal today that locks them out of tomorrow's money. So where does this leave us? 5 days from the deadline? Here's some history. The last time the WNBA came anywhere close to a situation like this was 2003. Back then, the 2 sides were still negotiating when draft day arrived. They held the draft late, April 24th, and didn't open the regular season until May 22nd. That was the closest this league ever came to a full disruption. And that was before billion-dollar TV deals, before sold-out arenas, before Caitlin Clark. The stakes in 2026 are incomparably higher. The union has already voted to authorize a strike if necessary. That happened back in December, nearly unanimous. The expansion draft is supposed to happen April 6th. Free agency starts April 12th. The college draft is April 13th. Training camps open in late April. Every one of those dates falls apart if there's no deal by March 10th. And here's what nobody is saying out loud, but everyone in the league understands. A delayed season doesn't just hurt revenue, it hurts the momentum. The WNBA just spent 2 years building something with Caitlin Clark, with Paige Buchers coming in, with new arenas and new TV deals. A work stoppage right now, at the worst possible moment, could set all of that back. The league knows it. The players know it. The question is, who blinks first? The WNBA put $1.3 million on the table for Caitlin Clark. That's real. But the veterans who built this league, who played for $60,000 a year in half-empty arenas, they're not interested in a deal that rewards the stars and leaves the rest behind. 5 days, March 10th. We're going to find out very soon whether this league is ready to share what it's built, or whether it's going to let it all fall apart. I'm going to stay on this story. If you want to know what happens next, hit subscribe, because this one is moving fast.